The time for silence and patience is long gone. We're calling on the leadership of the House to bring common sense gun control legislation to the House floor. Give us a vote. Let us vote. We came here to do our job. We came here to work.
It was one of the year's most striking political scenes. You may recall there, Congressman John Lewis, a civil rights icon, leading a sit-in on the House floor over gun control. Now that showdown, believe it or not, is sparking a new battle, this one more about social media. Now, when the sit-in occurred, the House wasn't technically in session, so the protest wasn't even publicly broadcast, leaving Democrats to respond by live streaming it using their phones. This week, House Republicans pushed back. They're now proposing a policy that would fine lawmakers who shoot video or even take photos on the House floor. That fine? It could cost up to $2,500 deducted from the lawmakers' salaries. Now, already some Democrats are responding, including Congressman Swalwell, who helped lead the sit-in along with John Lewis. He tweeted out, "House GOP wants to fine me for filming gun violence sit-in. I'll always stand with the victims. Bring it on." Joining me now is Congressman Swalwell, Democrat from California. Congressman, good to talk to you again. Let's talk a little bit about
Thank you for having me back, Eamon.
Always a pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about these fines and if you think that they could actually energize Democrats and perhaps even trigger more sit-ins.
Well, Eamon, right now as we speak, 30,000 families are spending the first holiday season, including 49 in Orlando, without a loved one who they lost to gun violence. And what they deserve is a dialogue, a continued dialogue in Congress on this issue, not efforts to silence action. And that's what this is. This is an effort to silence action. So we're as energized as ever to keep speaking on this issue. And I also, Eamon, would say the American people are not interested in seeing John Lewis arrested for standing up for what's right. They're interested in seeing it's Congress stand up for them.
Fair enough. I think Republicans may push back on that a little bit, Congressman, and say this is not about the issue. This is about decorum on the floors of the House chamber. So they're talking about making sure there's some kind of order and decorum without what they may consider gimmicks of social media and live streaming. And what would be your response to those who are saying this is just disruption to decorum and House rules?
And Eamon, if you remember, this was right after the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. And when we were having this dialogue, Speaker Ryan cut the feed from the House floor. So the American people were shut out from this dialogue. And so I and others thought it was too important of a debate to be in the dark. And so we let others in by Facebook Live and Twitter and Snapchat. And we're going to continue to do that. But it's also missing what millions of Americans just went to the polls and told all of us, Republicans and Democrats, which their number one concern right now is the future of our economy. So for this to be the first thing that we vote on when we get back is missing what most Americans care about.
And they also voted in a president who is president-elect who's using social media to kind of bypass the rules. Do you think there's any irony in that the GOP is trying to prevent folks like you and others from using social media to bypass traditional media and getting your message out to American people to see what's happening on the House floor?
Well, again, it's the people's house, and the people deserve, whether it's the issue of gun violence, the efforts we're going to undertake to protect Medicare, because Speaker Ryan has made it clear he wants to get rid of that, or anything going forward. If they are going to turn out the lights and cut the American people out, you're darn right. We're going to use social media in any effort we need to make sure that the American people are brought in.
Let me ask you to switch gears for a little bit and talk to you about something. I know that you sit on the House Select Committee on Intelligence. I'd like to get your reaction to something that Senator John McCain said while he was in Estonia, talking about Russian hacking. Take a listen to this.
There's no doubt that the Russians were hacking, but there is doubt whether it had any effect on the outcome of the election. There is no evidence right now that indeed the Russian cyber attacks had and leaking of information had any tangible effect on the outcome of the American election.
Congressman, what's your response to that? You agree with that?
What I believe is that we need to have an independent investigation, and I and Elijah Cummings are calling for an investigation outside of Congress. So once and for all, we can declare who's responsible. It looks like it was Russia, but also make recommendations as to why we should never let this happen again. And so it's too early to determine that, but I think Republicans should be just as interested as Democrats are in making sure that no outside actor ever interferes with our democracy. And that's something that should be bipartisan, and I think it should be taken outside of Congress, and it's something where we should put our country above politics.
Congressman, we're going to have to leave it at that. Congressman Eric Swalwell, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
You too.